Can start the recording. Okay, welcome to coaching, everybody. I am, of course, your host, Will Cooper. Glad to be with you. And of course, broker and Rush fan. So I hope you enjoyed that that song, Red Barchetta, one of my favorites. Tough to play, fun to play, great to listen. I never get tired of that song. Anyone seen Rush in concert? I've just like John, you have? Okay. Nobody else? Just me and John. Okay. John, I knew there was a reason why I liked you. I've seen Rush, I don't know how many times. I dozens and dozens of times. 5 times for you, John? Yeah. One of my dreams was, of course, to meet them. And I got a call one day before the concert at USANA on R30. And my friend says, "Hey, you're not going to believe this, but I think I got backstage passes." And I'm like, "You're kidding me." So we go out, sure enough, we go through the security and I'm there. And, I don't know how there's like 30 adults that have backstage passes. They're adults. And I don't know how we're going to react when Alex and Geddy Lee walk around the corner, but we acted like children. So, I mean, have you ever had someone just walk into a room and everyone just starts cheering? I mean, there's only 30 of you. I mean, you're, like, woo! Like it was weird how we responded, but lifelong dream. Shook both their hands, met them, and people say, "Why do you like Rush?" Well, it's pretty simple. It's great music. Music I like, but the lyrics are awesome. And I didn't have to endure, like, I don't know, maybe just the hard rock lyrics. Just, I don't know, didn't really speak to me. Like there are things I just don't want to sing. So, but with Rush, I could always find something inspiring. So I hope that that inspires you. Yes, best 3-man band ever, no question. All right, well, welcome to coaching, everybody. So thanks for the moment of Rush appreciation. Now we're going to move on to our top topic. We talked about this in sales meeting. Get ready to take some notes. Here's what I did. Go to page 135 in the manual. There's some space there under objection handling techniques. And I think what we're going to do is we're going to talk about this objection. So here it is. The buyer you met is unrepresented, and he says to you he wants to write his own offer. And because he's unrepresented, writing his own offer, he wants the commission. So maybe sometimes this comes across like he's going to write an offer that's 3% less than full price. So there's a couple little dynamics to this, but bottom line is the buyer's requesting to get paid the commission. How many of you had this happen? I asked yesterday on sales meeting, I got 3. Sally, yeah, you were one of them. I know Peg Marty just had this happen. Matter of fact, is Peg on? Okay, Lauren, you have also? The buyer wanted the commission? Okay. Look, there's 42 of us. Do you mind putting in the chat if you've had this happen in the last, say, 6 months, maybe? Or something recent? Let's do a quick poll. Joel, yes. Jill, yes, I have. Linda, Lauren, okay. It's coming later today. Peter can sense it. Something in the weather is telling me it's going to happen. Okay, and Rachel says it's happening all the time. Okay. All right, guys. I think there's a number of ways you can approach this. And I know we're going back to objection handling, which in the communication section we've already covered recently in previous classes. But okay, let me give you some bullet points and let's tackle this. Okay. So the buyer asked for the commission because he's unrepresenting and writing his own offer. Write that down so you've got what the objection is. Hi, Jamie Roney. Good morning. Glad to have you. Okay, so here's number one. what is required? So you might approach it like this. Let's talk about what's required to get paid a commission. Okay. Number one, you have to be an active agent and an active broker. That means your license has to be current and active. Okay. So what does it take to earn the commission that's offered on the MLS? One, you have to be an active agent, active broker. Number two, you have to be a member, again, an active member. That means you're current again, of the board or MLS of which the offer of compensation for commission was offered. Okay, let me say that one again. You've got to be an active member of the board or MLS of which the offer of compensation or commission was made. So in other words, if they're a member of the Utah, real estate or Wasatch Front MLS, and the property is only listed on Park City MLS, then the offer of compensation is not applied to someone who's not a member of the Park City MLS. Same thing goes for Washington County. If we're talking about St. George, Park City to St. George, Wasatch Front to St. George to Wasatch Front, you have to be a member, an active member of the MLS, okay? That's number two. Number three, so this falls under the requirements of the MLS or board. You must be procuring cause of the sale. So you could just write procuring cause if you want, but the fact that it's written in the rules, okay? If you guys could just look at the screen for a second, okay, so these are all the licensing rules. And there's a couple of pages in here that deal with you can't be paid a commission unless you're active. Okay, so that's the division on number one. In the Utah, I'm sorry, go here first. So this is the Code of Ethics and Standards of Practice from 2021. And in this, it outlines what it takes to earn a commission. Matter of fact, I just turned to arbitration in the guidelines. Okay. So if you're making a case that you have earned a commission, then ultimately it's decided in an arbitration by a panel of our peers. Okay. But anyway, there it is defined there. And then when we get into the MLS, it has its own set of rules. And this is the rules for the MLS. This happens to be Park City and UtahRealEstate.com. Okay. So that's where that simple information has come from in those three manuals. So this is what I call dessert. See how fun that is? See? Like you look forward to it. It's so tasty, right? Okay. Okay. Look, I know I got a problem. The first step is recognizing it. I'm only to that stage. Okay. So let's break down procuring cause. What does it take to be procuring cause of a sale? I got about 5 bullet points here, so let's write them down. First one is to start an uninterrupted chain of events that leads to the sale. Okay, you writing this down? Lauren, you writing this down? You are? Okay. There's a quiz later. I'm only going to ask Lauren. Just kidding. Okay, so procuring cause of the sale. Start an uninterrupted chain of events that leads to the sale. Number 2, write the offer. Number 3, collect deposits or earnest money. Number 4, take the buyer to and through the property. And number 5 is no abandonment. Okay, that's the gist, basically, of procuring cause. Notice there's something missing here. Matter of fact, hit your chat, you A students. What's not on the list? This is kind of interesting. I mean, maybe we always ask people, they always say, well, yeah, Leslie says, who has them buyer brokered? But that's not a part of who earns the commission. In other words, who's the agreement with the broker, or the buyer broker agreement is with the broker and the buyer, and it has nothing to do with procuring cause. Now, in the guidelines, so occasionally we have gone and protected our agents in the guidelines for arbitration. When it comes to buyer-broker agreement, yes, the panel will typically ask who is buyer-brokered, but it's really just to create the story of representation and make sure that they understand who in the story had obligations, fiduciary obligations. Okay. So yes, Leslie, you are right. The buyer-broker agreement is not part of procuring cause. The to and through, Cindy, is actually part of procuring cause, although there's a warning when you go to arbitration that the arguments for compensation cannot just be who took the buyer to the property or through the property. Okay. Another warning about arbitration is it's kind of a crapshoot, I guess, is a way to, there's no guarantees anyone's going to win anything in arbitration. It can be very, very difficult to make an argument on either side. So, we typically try to settle any kind of disputes before we go to arbitration. Okay, now let's go back to the what we're saying procuring cause is. And Kevin Larson, an uninterrupted chain of events that results in the sale. Well, that is part of procuring cause. So that, I don't know if you joined late, but under procuring cause, we have an uninterrupted chain of events that leads to the sale, write an offer, collect deposits or earnest money, to and through, or no abandonment. The problem with each one of these is that if you made an argument, for example, that you started an uninterrupted chain of events, that doesn't mean that you're going to win arbitration solely and by itself. Okay. No more than if someone collected the earnest money would also have now made a case that they're procuring cause because they collected the earnest money. Okay. It's more of like stacking the deck in your favor with pieces of evidence or facts that support procuring cause. So I can't imagine anyone losing an arbitration if they had all five of these, started interrupt chain of events, sell the sale, wrote the offer, collected the earnest money, took the client to and through, and did not abandon the client. If all of those things happened, it would be very hard to make a case that you were not procuring cause. Before I turn the channel back to objection handling, Craig, Kevin, Mike, anything you guys want to add to this?
No, I think you've covered those 5 items right there. I think that's the key, is showing that through your efforts, you were part of the decision process for the buyer to purchase the property. And then you also had those other elements involved there. And that's exactly what the ethics, and if an ethics complaint comes in, they look at those items there and they weigh how much participation each party had and how much evidence each party has in making a determination and or in an arbitration who's deserving of the commission.
Yeah, very, very good. So Kevin, let's tie in Travis's question. So Travis, what happens is agent number 1 might take them to and through. It might write an offer and it fails, it never gets accepted. Okay. Then weeks later or months later, buyer reappears, but with a different agent. And then agent number 1 makes a claim on the commission. Okay. So what would be an interruption is that time frame between the offer was presented and not accepted to new buyer, new offer, and new agent. So, and probably, oh, hey, Joe, could you unmute Craig? I thought he was a co-host already. But yeah, we'll hang on for, okay, go ahead, Craig.
I was just going to mention, in arbitration, they won't split the commission. So it's all or none if you go to arbitration. So if you lose, you've lost the entire commission.
Yeah, and I think the reason that rule's there, guys, is so that we'll settle. I mean, if you're saying, okay, agent number 1, yeah, you did answer a lot of questions for the buyer, got them interested in the property. You weren't able to, I suppose, put the deal together entirely, but we would like to compensate you. So how could we work that out? And so, yeah, I think that's, do you agree, Craig, with that?
Yeah.
So, yeah, the last time we went, the commission we were arguing for was, I think about $60,000. And that's exactly what happened. But the listing agent was claiming that they were procuring cause because they showed the property first to the buyer, and there was our agent was not there at the first showing. We were on the buyer agent's side. The testimony of our buyer, which was critical in the case, said, frankly, he would not have purchased the property through the listing agent, period. And you know, so some of these facts have to be analyzed. So let's go back to the heart of the matter here. We've got a buyer who wants the commission. And, you know, so many times my counsel to everybody is to slow down and talk about the complexities. We're our own worst enemy by making it sound too easy and too simple. Frankly, it's not. To earn a commission is a complicated process. And I usually throw in, Rich Fine had a client who called me who was mad about 3 months ago. And he, you know, I want to talk to the broker. So I got the call, and he was furious that his offer didn't get accepted. And I kind of walked through it. And he says, look, I don't have an agent. Rich wrote the offer, and he was really, really upset. I called Rich. Rich did a great job, fantastic job. This guy was really difficult to handle. And he demanded also that he get credit for all of the commission. So I just said to this gentleman, I said, well, I'm sorry about that. You know, we go through an awful lot of process to make sure we can earn a commission. And I marched through all these issues, you know, and I just slowed down and just told him about how complicated it really is for us to earn a commission. And if we're out of bounds on any of these, we can't collect it. We can't pay it. Think about the division requirements is why we keep the Utah Connect brokerage open so we can pay referral fees, right? So people can stay active, but they're not a member. But so we have to, you know, have a licensing rule. I mean, there's just so many guidelines to this. And I threw in, I said, you know, you could imagine the realtor community has been debating earned commission since its inception, right? Since we were created, we've been arguing who earned it, who gets paid. So it's been something that's greatly debated. And so the requirements are thick, you know, they're thick. So I walked him through that. He did understand. And bottom line is he didn't get the house because his offer wasn't the best. And he wanted to pin that on us as if the commission was the thing. And I said, well, the commission is like it's like arguing the balance of the seller's first mortgage. I mean, the amount that the seller owes is the seller's obligation. There's very little to do with anything else. He says, yeah, but they would have netted more. And I said, well, frankly, let me look at it. I called him back, and in our case, we had an offer that was substantially more than the 3% anyway, you know? So it kind of took the focus off of that entirely because of the situation. But I think if you walk them through it, it's a good way to kind of educate them instead of kind of looking at it from an objection handling technique. Like I understand how you feel, you know, other buyers have kind of felt the same way, or this is what we found. And, you know, people ask about this all the time. Here's what, you know, I mean, we don't have to necessarily pattern the objection. I think we can just educate them, and most of this will go away. Okay. I'm going to turn the channel to prospecting in a minute, but any other comments on this objection or insights, or what do you do, or tips or anything like that you want to share with the group? Nobody? Are you sure? Oh, come on. It's right on the tip of your tongue. Rachel's smiling. Rachel, you got a tip? Can you not unmute? Okay, there you go.
I don't know if I have tips on that. I get it all the time, and I think it's because I carry a lot of inventory. But it's constant, you know, buyers that want to represent themselves, and I just let them know, I'm sorry, you know, if you want me to represent you, we can talk about that, but, you know, it's not going to change the seller's obligation to the commission. You know, that's between me and the seller. And I just encourage them to find an agent. And then there are some that just get adamant that they need to have that 3%. And I don't move on it. I
Yeah.
don't.
Yeah, there must be some seminar out there online that, and maybe 1 out of 100 are successful, at it. So they just think, oh, this is what I've been told to do, to ask. But, one thing that Rachel brought up, you guys, is to get back to what they really want. Everybody wants the lowest possible price. So let's submit an offer. There's a couple of ways you can do that. You can go get an agent that represents you. I can write the offer on your behalf. You would be unrepresented. I think in most cases, that's a better way to go, is to have an unrepresented buyer in this case, or most of these cases. However, if the buyer would like to hire you to be their representative, if this property does not end up working out, then I think that's a buyer broker client. So I think that's a very key question to ask. So it'd be something like this. I'd say, Rachel, let me ask you a question. We've got this house picked out, my listing. And what if that one doesn't work out? Do you want to hire me to be your buyer's agent? And watch how they reply to that. If they say yes, then I can buyer broker them and have a limited agency situation. But if they say, no, we're really just interested in that one property. Matter of fact, there's somebody else we know. And you say, well, you could call this person and they could represent you. That's one option. I can write the offer for you as well. So I think that's not a bad way to, get them back on what really matters, is to, get their offer accepted and get the home that they want. Let's keep our eye on the ball. The commission's not really the thing. It's not the main thing, So good advice, Rachel, always. Appreciate that.
You're welcome.
Okay. Anybody else on this?
Well, one of the things that has been used effectively is an listing agent saying, I understand that you want to be paid the commission. However, I represent the seller, and if I were going to discount my commission, I'd discount it to the seller, not to you. And you think about that, that's really where our allegiance and our loyalty should lie. If we were to make some sort of a concession, it would be with our seller, not with the buyer that's unrepresented. So once they understand that principle, generally they back off and they say, well, yeah, I get it. Yeah. So will you talk to your seller? Yeah, I talked to my seller. My seller won't do it.
Oh,
So
yeah.
make your best offer. I'd be happy to present it for you. If you'd like representation, I'd be happy to help write it for you, or, get you to actually someone who can write it for you if you don't feel comfortable with me writing it.
Yeah. Very good, Kev. Very good point. We're not, I hope we're not blind to, there's different models out there. And I was sitting at the division meeting once, and we were debating the BAC. And so low BACs were posted, like 1%, and literally the director of education said, I don't understand why you guys wouldn't just go show that property. And I think there for a minute, he had forgotten that, we negotiate our fee with all of our clients up front. And a 1% BAC puts our buyer client in a very tough situation because they're obligated to pay 3% to the brokerage. And the 2% is just a huge gap and can cause a problem. And so we typically kind of, avoid those kinds of listings because of the difficulty it causes our client. Because the client's going to have to either pay above sales price, or have to put the commission in the deal. It also is a big red flag about how the seller is going to negotiate things. I mean, is it going to be an easier transaction when it's one? Because, look, they're paying you less. You would think they're paying you less because the job is easier, right? But that's not the case, is it? When they pay you less, it's 3 times harder. Every time. So it says an awful lot about where the seller's mentality is on how much they really want to sell. Like, what's the seller's motivation? Check the BAC. If it's 3%, they're very motivated. If it's less than that, they're not very motivated. I mean, I would talk to an agent the other day, I don't know who it was. Maybe it was someone on the call, but they said, I don't know about this, man. I accepted this 2% deal and this has been a killer. And I'm like, well, I'm not surprised. You know, anything less than 3 is a big red flag. The deal's going to be a lot heavier and more challenging. Okay. You ready to talk prospecting? New chapter, page 147. Let's turn there and talk about how we find business. All right. So, and let me pull up my screen. Let's see. Where are you? Where are you? I just, my wife's going to kill me for saying this, but I can't help it. It's her birthday today. It'd be really cool if like 50 people that half of you she knows, half of you she don't, if you just said happy birthday. So she'd be like, Will, what did you do? Anyways, her birthday day. She's 50 today. Which another thing she's going to kill me for saying, and I'm, you know, a couple years ago, when I turned 50, I said, hey, Tam, we got to come to grips with something. We're 50. And just before that, she told me, look, it's just a number, you know, stop talking about it. So I go, okay, honey, we're 50. And she looked at me and she goes, I am not 50. I was like, wait a minute. That's anyway, yeah, she's big 50 today. So big day for Tam. All right, so I'm going to share my screen. Here we go. Let's find some business and lead generate. And here we go. So I think in the beginning here, I wanted to go through some points, but also leave some space for you to make some notes. Okay. Yeah, like, honey, I'm not 50. Well, she is now. Okay, number 1, look at the bullet points here. We've got ask, follow up, value, solve problems, the time we devote to prospecting, a positive mindset, and it's a numbers game. So I think all of this is essential to understand. I want to challenge a couple of these. Number 1, if we never ask for business, I just don't think that your prospecting is going to be very effective if you don't say, like, raise your hand and say, I'm interested in helping you. You know, like, do you already have someone who's going to sell the home? You know, who's going to help them find a property? Whatever, however that comes up. And yeah, that's kind of a face-to-face. This can be done in a couple of different ways. But you have to ask for the business, I think, most of the time. But can we put a warning here? Every time you meet someone, I don't think you should be asking for business every single time. You know, like, I think you're engaging a lot of your SOI and your family, friends, and things like that. I mean, let's balance this and not be, you know, overly aggressive. And I know this is a balancing act. I get it. So you're gonna have to ask yourself if you're gonna err on one side or the other. I think I'd rather have you err on ask more than not at all, of course. But, you know, are you tenacious? Are you persistent? You know, I think we should, let me stop sharing for a second. I think we should sell like our kids. You know, think about when your kids want something. You remember that? What did they do? Dad. And I tease my girls all the time because they couldn't say dad. They have to say dad. Dad, dad. And I would say, I changed my name. I'm no longer your dad. But you know, they're very persistent, aren't they? Like, they're relentless. You know, they just never give up. Right? Jamie, are your kids like that? Do they just, like, when they want something, does Shar and Steven just keep asking and keep asking and keep, what did they want this morning? They must have asked for something this morning. What was it?
I can't. Hi there. Mom. Yeah, what? What do you want? I forgot. Mom. Yeah, could you come over here, Mom? Look at this. Look at this, Mom. What am I looking at? I found one shoe. How is one shoe going to help us? We need 2 shoes. Yeah, of course. Yeah.
Yeah. So I think we probably should sell like our kids if we're going to err on something and without being annoying. And I know that's a balancing act. So you guys are smart enough to figure it out when you're being too pesky, pesky. Yes. And then, or you need to, start asking for more business. Okay. All right. The next one is follow-up. And frankly, if you want more business, will you please take a look at leads you've generated in the last 90 days to 6 months and please reach back out to them again? If you're not good at your follow-up, you're frankly just not going to be good at lead conversion. And there is something here that's a real key to follow-up. It's answering the question or solving the problem, if you want to make a note here, okay? Which is kind of what number 3 is. Every time we follow up, okay, we're providing something of value, and the value is solving the problem. Remember, we talked in previous classes about value is realized when a problem is solved. Well, and if they don't know what the problem is, then you're going to have to tell them what the problems are. And we talked about that in communication in the last chapter. So think about what you're doing to add value to the follow-up. Like I was thinking about our last conversation. I dug up some information. I found some statistics. I thought this might help you, right? See if you can find something that would help them. And that makes great follow-up, okay? Solve the problem. Here's number 4, solving the problem. All of these make up what I would say the Brookshire way of prospecting, okay? It's not the salesperson way. In other words, I'm not just calling up saying, hey, have you guys given more thought to whether you're ready to buy a house? Okay, that's amateurish. It's not the best way. It's not a professional level. We bring value, we solve problems, we talk about it from their perspective, and we look at the world through their eyes, and we see the problems they see and the obstacles in the way, and we talk about how we get around them, over them, through them, and that's our job, okay? The number 5 is the time devoted to this. When you're really busy, time blocking is a very good skill set. It can help with study, exercise, eating right, and also for the time in which you devote to finding new business. So make this a daily appointment. And I promise you'll feel liberated and not restricted, because you're only going to do prospecting from this time to this time. And for some of you, that may need to be 3 or 4 hours a day. Some could be an hour a day. But the real tragedy is when you go day after day after day after day, and there's very little prospecting efforts that are going on. Okay. So reanalyze that and put in your calendar, just set an appointment, and it's pretty easy, right? We go to calendar, we hit reoccurring. Okay. And we just make that a reoccurring appointment. And it's like a nice reminder. Okay. Your time, for prospecting is coming up. The mindset and attitude, when I first came to Brookshire, there was an agent veteran agent, and I was talking to her, and I was really impressed with her book of past clients. And I said, why don't you, and she was, needed more business. So I said, look, why don't you just reach out to them and just connect and see if anyone has real estate needs? I mean, it's that simple, reflect a little bit, tell something personal about a memory, ask if they know of anybody. And she goes, that's never going to work. I was really kind of shocked about the negative mindset about going about this. And so fast forward a couple of weeks later, and she came up to me and she goes, well, see, like I told you, not one person needed real estate, help. Well, you already know what was going through my mind. I think that she, because of the lack of a positive mindset about any of this, it was just self-sabotage. So be careful there about what you put in your head and what story you're telling yourself about prospecting. Catch yourself, undo negative affirmations like I'm not good at prospecting, undo that one. Or people don't want to hear from me, undo that one. Or these calls won't be effective, undo that. Well, I'll stop by and see someone, but I'm probably just bothering them, undo that. All those things are under the mindset. So be very careful about cultivating a positive belief. People do want to see you. They do like you. And, doggone it, you're a pretty person. You're beautiful inside. Okay, number 7 is all about the numbers. That we understand that it's going to take, a certain number of reach outs, first contacts here, and follow up to equal a client. And so be patient with yourself on this. And I think everybody's a client at some point. So it just takes time, and when the time is right for them. So I think the key, let me stop sharing here for a second, is to really look at every contact as a relationship, and that it matters to you, and just solve that. And remember that nothing's more important than the relationship. And if you build the relationship and you connect and you improve the relationship, then we'll call that a victory. Okay. In other words, we're not just counting finish lines on buyer brokered agreements or listing contracts. Okay. We count victories on leading measures. Remember our 4DX discussion about leading measures and what matters? You focus on the things that matter, and everything else will work out. Because a lagging measure is the listing contract. A lagging measure is the buyer broker agreement. But the leading measure were those small and simple things we did to create a relationship with someone, and then that resulted in a client. And no one has a good relationship if it's not built on trust. And so how do you build trust? It's like I told my son-in-laws. They said, when do you want your daughter back home? And I said, no later than 11:30. And they said, okay, I'll have her back by 11:15. And they said, don't worry, Will, you can trust me. And I'm like, no, it doesn't work that way. I mean, I appreciate it, but trust comes over time, right? Keeping your promises over time, that's trust. Okay. So we got to be patient to build trust. And Jill, you're right. I mean, it is all about timing with the people that we meet. So I think I have written down here in my manual a couple of questions I ask everybody when we're coaching them one-on-one. How do you prospect? What's working out for you? Where do you find buyers and sellers? Tell me about your last 10 transactions and where did they come from? Can you source them? You stick to what works. And how do you manage your contacts? So I'm not going to say names, but this is one of our great teams up in Park City. I'm sitting here coaching the team lead, and in comes one of the team members, and they said, hey, let me change the name. Well, I'll just, no names here. Okay. So he says, hey, that guy from Minnesota, do you have his number? And she's like, I can't find it. I've been looking. Does anyone know where this guy's number is? And, if I remember right, $2, $3, $4 million buyer, pretty significant buyer, someone had already shown them the house, cannot find the contact information. So I said, well, did you go back through your phone? And there was this sense of contention there for a minute. So anyway, he walks out on the search for the Minnesota buyer. And the team lead looks at me and goes, see, this is what I'm talking about. Like, okay, but you kind of sleep in the bed you make, I mean, what is your process? How are you hanging on to these people? I mean, what do you do? What's your process? They call you, you call them, you've saved the number. What do? You go to contacts, make a number, make a note. Is that your process? Is there more to it than that? How do you delegate that kind of a lead if you needed to? Who follows up with that person later? Look, I'm not saying that there is one way and there's only one right way, but whatever it is, you should be able to answer these questions. If you can't really clearly, then maybe we should sharpen the saw on our process of dealing with lead conversion, okay? Okay, let's go to the next page and let's look at some of the similarities in finding a client in 7 days or creating a client in 7 days. There's that top principle of client, if you want a client soon, follow up with leads and remember to be solution-based with value, okay? That's huge. Number 2, and I think that these guys are kind of weighted in order of importance. So first, follow up. Second, contact your center of influence. A lot of you on this call, I'm looking at your faces, have an amazing book of past clients. When is the last time you just called to say, hey, or called, or did a drop by, say, hey, I was in the neighborhood and I just wanted to come see you. if you haven't done that lately, just make yourself a list, get yourself to work, and tackle a few of these every day. So, contact your center of influence. Look, the overwhelming majority of business originates from people we know. We know that, right? I mean, it's like 90%. So another task to do here in prospecting is to work to get a full data set, meaning that when you meet people, think about your database and the health of your database. Do you have first, last name, email, mailing address, cell phone numbers, place of business? Do you have all of that? Because the way that we go about following up, if we only have email, when we're restricted to that, right? But if we've got a cell phone and an email address, then we could communicate a number of different ways. If we have an actual address, we can stop by, say hi. Same thing with place of business, okay? Remember, Brian Buffini loves the pop buys. I'm a fan of that also. I think that's a great way to just say, hey, I'm in the neighborhood. Let me just see if this agent is on with us. Okay. Because I have a confession to make. I'm going to stop sharing. So I have a confession to make. And I was actually hoping he was on. So first of all, here's the announcement. One of the best real estate teams in Washington County, Bob Richards, and his team have joined us. It was official last Wednesday. Yes, they did 1.4 million in GCI, about 100 units. We're thrilled to have Bob. He's really a legend down in St. George. He's been a real estate agent for 30 years. I first met Bob our ERA days, back when I owned an ERA franchise. And matter of fact, it was his birthday yesterday, and his wife posted a couple of pictures, and one of them was from a convention, an ERA convention. And I thought, well, that's how I remember Bob when I first met him. Of course, we were in our 20s, then. So anyway, great guy, fantastic. And, Craig's smiling. It reminds me, I would go in and talk to Craig. I'm like, I don't know what else to say to Bob. I'm like, am I being a pest? I don't know whether I'm, and so I pulled out Brian Buffini, and said, well, what would I'm prospecting, right? Just like you guys. Look, I wanted Bob to join our work family. He's fantastic. He fits our culture. We can help him. He needs us. We need him. We're growing St. George. You guys know that. I can't tell you how bad I wanted this guy to join our family. Okay. So feels an awful lot like wanting to get a listing. So what did I do? Here's the confession. I texted Bob and I say, I'm going to be down in St. George. Like, I'm going to be in the neighborhood. Like I'm already going to be there. Can I come see you? Well, what's the whole truth? What do you think the whole truth is? What? Jamie, why are you shaking your head? What's the whole truth?
Well, do you really want me to tell the whole truth and nothing but the truth? So help you God.
Sure. I'm all about honesty.
The whole truth is you made the whole trip down there just for him. And then you actually also got to enjoy some time by yourself too.
Yes, that's the whole truth. It was all about him. I went to the neighborhood to see Bob. I wasn't going to go down there. If he couldn't see me, I wasn't going to go, So look, it works. Like, I'm in the neighborhood. Yeah, I'm in the neighborhood because I want to see you. That's why I'm down there. I must have pulled that one, I don't know, half a dozen times, because if Bob was available, I'm leaving, and Angie knows this too. It took, it took a minute. I mean, it's a big decision for a guy like that. Brookshire's new in St. George, so we don't have like the luxury of, 40% market share. We're not there yet. But I believe that it was the best thing for him. And over time, he saw the same thing. And of course, it's been such a team effort to bring that guy over. But anyway, here we are prospecting for, we're all trying to find people that can help build our business. And so Jill said I give him a proper proposal. For you guys who don't know, there's a video in which Jill Stringham, I actually got on my knees and proposed to Jill Stringham. I said, please, I go, this is the moment, Jill. You've got to join Brookshire. And I'm in front of like 20 people, and it was hilarious because Jill said she wanted a proposal, but no, I did not do that with Bob, Jill. You know, he wouldn't have got the joke. I don't think. Anyway, all this is prospecting. So think about that, and being in the neighborhood, and you know, the drop bys. I really like that a lot. And you guys have great. Look, Sally, you've got so many past clients that love you and have got good memories of working with you. You know, Jennifer, same thing, and John. I could go on down the list. Rachel, you guys have got huge books of business. So think about just, you know, maybe going to see a couple of people a day. And if it's not a pop by that's the thing, then maybe it's a personal text, a reach out. I like the personal touches. And I think they really matter, you guys. You know, simple little things can mean a lot to people. So the next one on the scale is holding an open house. And it's there's more to it than just doing that. I mean, you do it the right way. I like contacting the surrounding, you know, neighbors and letting them know. There's a couple ways you could do that. It's either face-to-face or with an invitation. Sometimes the neighborhood doesn't you know, afford for that, and that's not a logical solution. So you know, the just listed or open house invitation's a great way. I like this event-like atmosphere. You know, it's very well planned ahead of time. We're not in a hurry to you know, hold open houses to check a box. We give ourselves enough time to prepare. We allow for special previews for neighbors and things like that might just be interested in the value of their own home. They're not really per se buyers, so you can think about scheduling that. And encourage neighbors to refer potential buyers. You know, you're asking for business and a referral in a way here. If you know of anyone who, you know, now's the time to help pick your neighbors, you know, LOL. But, you know, you can say that a number of different ways. And I kind of like doing these group open houses where there's a variety of price ranges held open at the same time. When you meet people, you can send each other, send buyers to, you know, multiple different houses depending on their price point, and you can work it together. So I like that a lot for getting out and meeting people. The networking and personal contacting is pretty much like Jamie has always said, that everywhere you go, you're marketing yourself. So, you know, be prepared to introduce yourself, and, you know, don't be shy, and, you know, hand out your card. It's a simple thing to do, you know, old school, right? But we can meet people every day that way. If you ask Nancy Ernie where she gets most of her business, she'll tell you it's on the ski lift. Okay, so when it's a powder day, she's gone. You won't find her. And you can say, oh, she's skiing. Yeah, she's prospecting. All right, so she's meeting people. And that's all about this, you know, this networking and personal contacting. Okay. So then we get into, you know, more of the need for our great marketing pieces. It would break my heart to think you guys are not using our marketing. Look, just take a deep breath and put yourself to work and start doing one simple thing and utilize the resources that we have at Brookshire. We've got amazing social media posts that can be made that, and remember to comment on them. People want to know your thoughts, not just a copy and paste. So draw people's attention to a particular stat or piece of information. You know, that's a great, you know, tip for you there if you're not already doing that. But utilize, look, we got print, we can go calls, we can canvas an area, but we've got a lot of different things we can do in prospecting. Another note on this is that think about it this way. Let me stop sharing. What if I said the first person to turn in a new client? I mean, it's just a race, so first person. But it can't be anybody that you're like, it's you know, everyone had a clean slate. So I just go, look, turn in a new listing today and I'll give you $1,000 cash. Simple as that. Here's the deal. So it can't be somebody that, it's gotta be somebody new. Okay. It's gotta be somebody that is fresh. So if you think about a contest like that, how would you go about winning? where would you go and what would you do? It's simple. First one to get me a listing wins $1,000. As simple as that. But it has to be somebody new. Like you're not already, it's not like, well, I've already done the prospecting. I've already done the presentation. I want somebody who you haven't done a presentation with. It's lead conversion. Okay. Where would you go? What would you do to win the $1,000? Yeah, fill up the chat. How about let's do this? You know what? Forget the $1,000. Let's make it $10,000. $10,000, the first person who turns in a listing. $10,000. It's gotta be someone you're lead converting. Where would you go? John says, I'm listing my house. That's it. I'm getting that equity. That puts me over. Call. Honey, we're selling. I wish I had $10,000 to give you. I wish this contest could be real, but the point of that is to get you thinking about what you would do. And perhaps it's more about being effective than about being busy. Okay. And I think that's personal contacts. I think that that's stopping by and seeing somebody. I think that's, a phone call. It may not always be, but most of the time it is. It will certainly be something that's a personal touch, and a reach out always. So think about that. And maybe that's a great question. If there was a contest today for $10,000, first person to turn in a listing, what would I do? Okay. We're going to wrap up that page and put a bow on this class. So, there's only so many different ways. Here we got, promoting a property. Look, talk about real estate. People want you to talk about real estate. So make sure that you're talking about what's going on, post a property, get permission if you're posting a property that's not your listing. Okay. Don't just copy someone's listing and then post it. You can't do that. I want written permission to do that. For sell by owners and expireds. Yeah, look, I put them at the bottom of the list. Remember I said this is the most important down to the least important. I think that's least important. I think this is way more effective, but that's up to you. There's an exception to every rule. Here's all the ways we can contact and track. You could put yourself to work here and say 5 a day, right? 5 a day. Look at this handwritten note. What if you did at least 1 a day, right? Facebook message. What if you did 5 of these per day? What would happen to your business? What if you did 10 per day? What would happen? Okay. Now, if we'll do the rest of that later. Anytime, I start talking about things like, hey, what if you ran, a 5K? What if you biked more often? What if you studied more? What if you prospected more consistently? What if you did thank you notes? I understand that sometimes these things can seem heavy because our lives, the way we have our lives already, whirlwind is what Covey says, the whirlwind of life. Well, remember something. If you ever went to clean something, you had to get rid of something. The first step is to throw it out. So think about bad, good, better, best, and try to trade up. And I'll warn you on something. What's good today may not be the best thing today, but what the best thing is today may not be the good thing tomorrow. Okay, so I think it pivots because what's happening with all of us is that we have relationships that matter on a lot of fronts. Friends, family, neighbors, people get sick, people have surgeries, there's funerals that happen, and we need to be there in moments that we can't necessarily plan. And it's important to be there. And we shouldn't, convince ourselves that work is always the number one thing. So anytime I make these suggestions, I hope you temper it, but I also hope that you will climb the mountain and see what you can become. Like at some point, you're going to have to really sacrifice and really try. And you're going to have to get really uncomfortable to do something you've never done before. It's always the case. I want something I don't have. Well, then you're going to have to get uncomfortable. Right. And it's going to have to go that way. I mean, that's just how it is, So But in that journey, we become a better version of ourselves. And you learn something about yourself that you didn't know if you didn't take the journey. And to me, that is I'm giving my purpose of life here. So I think that's the purpose of life, is to see if we can become the best version of ourselves. And we've got so many races to run that can transform us. Some is work, some is life, some is with our spouses and families and friends and sickness and health. I mean, we've got so many things that can mold us. So don't be so hard on yourself, and celebrate some of these finish lines and, the hiking the path up the mountain. They're hard, but we should be able to celebrate that it's hard, because you're learning something along the way. That's always a victory in my eyes, guys. Okay, let's do takeaways. Hit the chat really quick. Give me one thing that you want to take away from today that meant something to you. And it's again, just one thing. Takeaways, one thing. Good, Lauren. Fostering genuine connections. That matters so much. I'm so glad you got that out of this. Let's not check boxes. I'd rather you have one great contact a day than 20 that we're not. You just check the box. Very good. More handwritten notes of appreciation. I love that, Linda. It means a lot to people that we take the time to do that. Yeah, more personal notes. Procuring cause. Yes, it's complicated. Daily, and be consistent. Yes. Leslie, the only asterisk to that is sometimes life happens, and the thing that disrupts our cadence is likely more important at times. So just get back on. There was no one-day diet. And, there's no 1 week of prospecting that solves it all. So we just get back on the cadence after. Personal touch, good. Stay connected, follow up. Thanks, Jill. Following up. Very best way to get a client is to follow up leads you already have. Reach out to friends, do a sincere follow up. Yep, even if you have to not tell the whole truth that you're going to be in the neighborhood, right? Time blocking, very good. Ange, get uncomfortable to change behavior. Yep, right, Dan. Allison, need more organization and a system. Okay. Yeah, we don't want to lose leads. I mean, these people are important. Very good. And additional follow-up, out of state, prospects. Yeah, that can be tough. I mean, maybe get a habit of saying, hey, can I mail you something? Let's get, not just an email, but a physical address, things like that. Other ways to stay in touch. Jennifer says, remaining that we take time to breathe. Yeah. When we are busy, it's so hard to not see anything. We need to take time for ourselves and our husbands. It's very true. A lot of things matter in life. Thanks for that, Jennifer. I appreciate that. We're so often too hard on ourselves. So take it easy, right? You're doing better than you think. And, it's just these little baby steps along the way. You'll get there. And sometimes life happens. If you have kids, life happens. Okay. I'm sorry. You're not going to be able to plan every day. Sorry, not going to happen, but you can get back on, right? Follow up and consistently while slowing down. Very good, Stacy. And then Leilani, what I appreciate the most is whenever Will talks, you always focus on relationships, number one. Very good. Yeah. Breath of fresh air. Yeah. Glad to hear you notice that, Leilani. I think we can always have a victory in any appointment if we've advanced or improved the relationship. I think that's what matters most. Okay, guys. Well, we're going to put a bow on this. Thanks for joining me for coaching this morning.